took out to escort His Excellency.
Je donne maintenant la parole au...
I now give the floor to the representative of Somalia to introduce the statement by their head of state.
Your Excellency Abdullah Shahid, President of the General Assembly, Your Excellency Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Excellencies, Heads of States and Government, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I take this opportunity to congratulate His Excellency Abdullah Shahid, Minister of Foreign Affairs, on his election for the 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly. My delegation assures you its utmost support and cooperation during your tenure. We also would like to commend the exemplary leadership of your predecessor, His Excellency Volkan Bozkır, during a critical time of pandemics and uncertainties. Mr. President, I have the great honor and privilege to introduce the pre-recorded statement of the United Nations General Assembly's 76th session by His Excellency Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed Farmaajo, the President of the Federal Republic of Somalia.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 health pandemic has truly challenged the world in a way most never predicted. Across the world, people have lost their lives, livelihoods, and are tasked with enormous challenge of rebuilding their lives, communities, and countries during a very uncertain period in human history. However, uncertainty and inability are different. I strongly believe that we, as a community of nations, are capable and must recover together by remaining hopeful. Throughout history, mankind has been challenged, but never has our collective spirit and determination to learn, share, progress, and prosper through effective partnership been beaten. COVID-19 has proven to us all that when an existential catastrophe surfaces, we as a community of nations can rise to the challenge together. It's only fitting that the 76th session of the United Nations Assembly focuses on building resilience through hope. Building resilience through hope, hard work, and multifaceted partnership is a must for an equitable and holistic recovery from COVID-19. The global health pandemic laid bare the frighteningly unequal world that we all live in today. The different pace of response within nations and regional organizations highlighted the vast gap there is in terms of opportunities between the developed and developed world, with countries like mine still struggling to offer the vaccination to most of our citizens. It's fundamental to recognize that response to COVID-19 requires renewed community commitment to vaccinations for all. Human safety is the cornerstone of any sustainable recovery from this disastrous health pandemic. I am proud to say that the Somali federal government responded quickly to the health pandemic in this country. Our policy prioritized the lives of our citizens, and most of our national resources and available human capital was dedicated to saving lives through direct medical provision of information sharing. Despite its devastating impact on individual lives, livelihoods, and the economy, COVID-19 galvanized the resilient Somali people, including the private sector and diaspora, as well as international partners, to do everything possible to mitigate the worst of the impact. This strong and timely partnership continues to this day and is saving lives and creating the opportunities our people urgently needed to recover quickly and sustainably. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, recovering from the global impact of COVID-19 is indeed our most crucial single collective priority. There is not one single nation, community, or individual which has not been detrimentally impacted. However, we must all understand that this recovery must be anchored on innovative and sustainable human-centered policies and strategies delivered in partnership across continents. In Somalia, we are determined to ensure that our national recovery strategies are in line with our 9th National Development Plan. The core of this focuses on rebuilding a strong, cohesive, and fair Somali society underpinned by strong institutions and opportunities. Somalia's economy has been heavily impacted by COVID-19 pandemic, like everywhere else in the world. But this has not deterred us from successfully continuing on our national economy reform path. The success of these reforms have enhanced the trust between the Somali government and public and international partners and helped to deliver basic public services. It's because of these clear reforms effort, that many of our valuable international partners, including international financial institutions, provided much needed and appreciated grant financing to mitigate the worst impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Economic reforms are key to the sustainable recovery and development of Somalia. In this regard, we are determined to continue growing our domestic revenue base, strengthening transparency and good governance, as well as working ever more closely with our people and our development partners to ensure that Somalia's recovery from COVID-19 is swift and sustainable. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the protection of the environment is an urgent global priority that the Somali government is committed to. Somalia has one of the longest coasts in the world, vast arable land for farming, and huge blue economy potential. Indeed, Somalia's many natural resources are the jewels in the present and future crown of the country. And only through the protection of our environment can the resilient Somali people truly benefit from them. However, Somalia directly experiences the painful result of global warming. Somalia has been cyclically challenged with recurring drought and, in the same year, floods. This has been painful human and economic consequences, with many lives and livelihoods lost as a result. Somalia's environmental challenges have led to food insecurity, an increase in the number of internal displacement people living in many cities like Mogadishu, and the weakening of the traditional rural communal economic networks that have sustained and Somali people for centuries. A Somali proverb states that the city lives of the provision of the countrysides. But sadly, today, it appears the countryside has been displaced in the major cities. This is not sustainable and certainly not conducive for the long-term development the Somali government and people predicted going forward. Looking forward, it's the collective duty of all states, communities, and individuals to respond to the needs of the planet. We must all do our absolute best to cooperate to protect the future of our planet and our source of lives, wealth, and well-being. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in Somalia, we strongly believe in the enduring ability of the international multilateral system to deliver a better world for all. In today's interconnected, interdependent, and globalized world, cooperation, strategic collaboration, and good governance are a must. In this brave new world, it's almost impossible for any nation to strive for progress and prosperity alone. It is in this regard that all member states must work closely together to revitalize the United Nations so that it can effectively play its mandate role of connecting us all in navigating the serious global challenges that threaten our common development. The UN remains the foremost multilateral institution for the regular high-level dialogue and decisions that guide the world's collective response in today's most pressing challenges, including the attainment of Sustainable Development Goal. As a member state, Somalia is proud of its contribution to the United Nations and the strong partnership that exists between the UN agencies and our government in Somalia. The federal government of Somalia firmly believes that the UN can be revitalized through the reform of its own governance structure, which must reflect the changing world we live in today. The UN must also have greater impact on people's lives through a strategic focus on peace-building activities, which are in line with the Sustainable Development Goals. Furthermore, to revitalize the UN and the impact of its activities across the world, we must seek to strengthen public-private partnership to overcome the financing challenge the organization faces at this desperate time of global crisis and need, especially in the developed world. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Somali federal government is working tirelessly to achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals with and for our people. We are doing this by successfully confronting international terrorism, investing in basic public services, tackling corruption, and promoting good governance and inclusive politics. We are currently finalizing the process of holding free, fair, and inclusive elections with the largest number of Somali electoral participants since the civil war in Somalia. The elections are centered on respecting the rights and the wishes of the Somali people, including the rights of women and the youth to represent themselves within a very political arena that governs them. In conclusion, it's important to reiterate the enormous impact COVID-19 has had on the world. We have all suffered, and many still are hurting from the personal and economic pains caused by health pandemic. Sadly, we also know that it's not yet over for many, especially the most vulnerable in the world, including many in Somalia. However, through an effective multifaceted partnership, social solidarity, strong institutions, and hard work, I strongly believe that we can recover from COVID-19 more sustainably. Furthermore, to achieve sustainable development for all, we must also recognize and act on responding to the needs of our planet and creating a fair society of all underpinned by opportunities and good governance. In Somalia, our government is working hard on all these priorities to improve the future of our people. I thank you.
On behalf of the General Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Federal Republic of Somalia for the statement just made.